Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As announced earlier, we will be discussing today the transformation of Facebook and what exactly it means for the content creators as well as the end users. From a long post on Facebook last week, for which he was actually trolled by several users, the social media platform's founder and CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, seems to have said his company is rebranding itself as Meta. Initially, we had thought that Facebook itself will change into Meta, but no, it's the company which is being rebranded as Meta. This seems an effort to encompass its virtual reality vision for the future that Zuckerberg calls the metaverse. While the renaming business is limited to the parent company, it is bound to have some impact on the daughter company WhatsApp. Earlier, while starting WhatsApp, the application, as you've all seen, mentioned WhatsApp from Facebook. That was after it sold itself to Facebook at the start screen. Now it will change to WhatsApp by Meta. Now, this is not the only change. There are several other ways in which the transformation will impact the end user. What are they? What will be the new normal in our social media behavior? We are talking to experts to get the answers. I will start with the senior-most person on the panel. Prithis Mukherjee is a tech, business, and management guru who was trained at IIT Kharagpur and University of Texas, and who has worked with IBM and PricewaterhouseCoopers, among other big companies. He teaches different technologies at the Praxis Business School. He was responsible for setting up the metaverse at IBM in India. We have with us Gaurav Tripathi, who is an entrepreneur, inventor, mentor, and founder and CEO at superpro.ai. Among other things, he has launched Vayam, a streaming medium which he says works much better than StreamYard and Zoom. We have also Shubham Verma. Shubham has done software engineering and worked in the IT industry for 7 years. He has worked also for policy think tanks in Delhi for 6 years. We have on the panel Saurabh Singh. He is the founder and owner at India Crisp and investors at multiple startups. I've known him for years together. Gaurav, Shubham, and Saurabh have all worked with or served government agencies, members of parliament, and other politicians besides private clients. Last but not the least, Vineet Pawar. He has been the IT backbone of Sirf News since 2016. He is another product of IIT BHU to be precise. He is a programmer and an app maker, besides being a wonderful website developer. Welcome to the show, all of you.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here.
Being the senior most, you start first. What does it mean? First of all, let's not start with people like us. Let's start with the commoners, the common users of Facebook. What does it mean for them, this transformation?
I think the main impact will be the way we interact. For example, metaverse is a shared space. Now, to give an analogy, a shopping mall is a shared space. When you visit a shopping mall, you can see others, you can interact with them, or you can ignore them and walk past them. Okay. Now, the similar thing is now possible in a metaverse environment, where if I draw an analogy, we can be on on a website, 3 of us can be together, all looking at Amazon.com, but we wouldn't be aware of each other. I am buying shoes, you are buying socks, and we could be. In the metaverse, I will see that you are buying shoes and I am buying socks. I can choose to ignore you, I can talk to you. I can also try to get physical with you, like push you, which is different. I mean, I can give you a push, and nudge you, tap you on the shoulder, and stuff like that. Now, these things which were earlier not possible, in a 2D internet, like say Amazon.com or say eBay, is now possible here. Now, this has implications, like, trying to push someone can be a friendly push or can be a rude matter. Okay, so we have to get used to doing things. And secondly, you are seen, you're visible. That you are entering this shop, you are going here, you're going there. So I think this will, in a sense, it impacts privacy. The internet is not as private as it was now. But again, if you give the analogy of visiting say a shopping mall, well, I can see my friends there, and we are quite used to it. It's not that I go with my face covered or something like that. When I visit a shopping mall, so I think this would be a important thing which will happen. One of the things,
Okay.
there are many other things which will happen, but this is perhaps the first thing that it occurs to me.
All right. So you are talking about this, let's say, pushing or little tap on the back. This is all in virtual reality, right?
Well, that is what is now coming out. When I made the metaverse, it was in Second Life, and there
Okay.
the touch was a little different. But with the kind of new virtual reality products which are happening now, where you are more immersive, a touch could physically be a touch. You can see, in your hand somebody touching you. Tactile interfaces are coming up, so it is a little bit more realistic, I would say.
All right. Uh, I'm moving on to someone who has, an experience similar to mine, and as far as being a social media user is concerned. Saurabh, I move to you now. Initially, when Facebook was launched, as the name suggests, it was a book of faces. So obviously, most people who were fascinated or obsessed with their own faces, with their own houses, their cars, their pets, etc., they prevailed on that medium. And a beautiful looking girl would always attract more reactions from a very serious post from me. Is that going to change, or it's going to be worse for me for now on?
Thank you, Surajit ji. So I would say, over the period of time, this particular thing is something what Facebook has already lost it. People have moved on to Instagram. People have moved on to multiple other platforms, and Facebook today is not exactly what they initially thought. And over the period of time, I was also wondering, I mean, the way how Facebook was losing interest, and with that, and the amount of the organization, how big is the organization, the kind of technology they are serving, they're doing it with WhatsApp in hand, Instagram in hand. They have everything. They have all the data. They know everyone. They know the persona of their entire users. So with this, I mean, it was quite necessary. I feel it was quite necessary for them to moving on to from Facebook to Meta, because I still uh, believe that the decision that they have taken is like pretty right in terms of, because as a name suggests, Facebook is not something what it is today, and it is now. So ideally, I mean, what they're doing is they're planning something with the as Prithvi sir said, they're just thinking something doing beyond the technology, beyond the universe, and that's what they recall themselves. They rename themselves as a Meta. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, as you said, right. I mean, there's nothing which is still there, or which is something why I or you or any other girl would want to be interested in joining Facebook today.
Right. So, putting it very simply, for our viewers to understand, am I supposed to post more videos, do more live streaming, etc., rather than write long articles on Facebook? What am I supposed to do to
Yeah,
adjust to this new environment?
see, absolutely. I mean, I would say writing long content won't, because as per the study what Facebook has recently done, is people are not very keen in terms of reading long articles. For that, the kind of audience who really want to read long articles have got a different platform altogether. And people are more interested these days. There are only people who are interested in having more followers, having more likes, having more stuff like that. Where and more or less, I would also say the consumers, the customers, they don't have time today. So if you can attract someone within seconds and get
Yes.
their reaction, that's what the algorithm wants.
All right.
Could I add
Gaurav
one thing out
Tripathi.
here? Could I
Yeah,
add one
sure.
thing out here?
Sure, Prithisda.
You see,
Yeah.
Shurajit, you have to think 3D. That is the
Okay.
point. Okay, for example, it's writing articles.
Hmm.
In the metaverse, nobody will read an article. I'll give you an example. We play games. On Facebook, we play games. Now, we had built a game in Second Life, which is physical, a bowling alley, which
Okay.
means you take a ball and throw it in a particular manner, the pins will fall. Okay,
All
so
right.
this is physical. You have to think in terms of physicality, rather than which we do not normally think of in the normal web.
Right. Gaurav Tripathi, even in this very competitive environment, you have come up with a product which, among your other products, is rather competitive, and it is doing quite well. Government agencies are using it, and even some VIPs are using it. So, did you have a hunch like some time ago when you thought of launching these startups that the environment is going to change? Probably Zuckerberg thought of it after you, not before you.
Uh, Now, definitely, I would say for this product, we started last year after lockdown. And the
Hmm.
idea has been simple because my other startup, it's heavily into AI and life sciences. I had the data really about how this pandemic is going to pan out. And we knew this is not going to end even in 3 years, really, right? We are just halfway through it. And it's going to change everything drastically. And that's where we thought that everything will. So we have seen already how consumption is now being driven by video and on video, right? So we just mentioned that nobody is reading long articles and so on. So yes, video has come, but what is going to
Right.
even next, that video communication is at a communication level as well, right? We are not going to continue with text, and because these are not natural as humans. What is natural to us? What we are doing right now? Yeah, talking,
Right. Okay.
watching,
Okay.
listening, that's it. And this is where it's heading. So that's what we thought, that yeah, this is how it's going to happen. But
Okay.
about Facebook, I'll just add one thing.
Sure.
uh, when
Yep.
in technology world, what we have been listening, one thing, that space, we grew up listening to it, space is the final frontier, right? Now
Yep.
here, when we look at it from digital perspective, brain is the final frontier, right? We already see what Elon Musk is doing, yeah. And there are
Yep.
already other large operations working on the same lines. And what I see with metaverse, uh, so the Facebook's journey for like till now, if it has been about just controlling the data, because whosoever controls data controls everything. The next step is really that, wherein you get into the brain. And how you get into brain, simply because once you have wearables, especially around headset, you already have seen prototypes working, right? I
Yes.
see
Yes.
it's less about just the virtual reality element is to keep people busy. It's like consuming, right? The real game, it's about that, yes, you are getting to a stage wherein, yes, you will be able to get to a product, right, which directly you are able to get at the human brain interface. And that is where they are heading. I mean, that is where the investment in wearables is actually happening.
Okay. Shubham, the question that I'm taking to you is something that even the rest of the panelists may speak on one by one. You were introduced to me besides, besides whatever your technical qualification is, as a patriot. This is, the patriotic fervor is something everybody's seen on the screen right now, we share. Now, we have been subject to a particular kind of censorship that is driven by artificial intelligence on Facebook, on Twitter, and in other places. In this metaverse, are things going to be better for us? Because this world is dominated by China, where none of these companies are allowed to enter, but they still keep licking the arse of Xi Jinping. And then, of course, also the Islamists and jihadis. And it is almost impossible to even spell Muslim as Muslim, because the AI will catch you. So we have come up with different ingenious methods like writing Sigma for S, etc. And we write Islam instead of Islam, just to save ourselves from AI. And jihad with, and instead of an A, we put the @ sign there. So in this metaverse, are we going to have new censorship challenges?
Thank you for providing me that opportunity, Surjit. And I first want to say one thing before I started answering your question, that you have asked in the first that what is this meta? Explain it
Mm,
in a layman's language. So
right.
what is meta actually? Facebook was previously Facebook, just like Saurabh has said. So, but then it acquired several companies like Instagram, it acquired, then WhatsApp, it acquired. Most recently, it has also taken 10% share of Geo, and it has also
Mm,
acquired some virtual reality companies and other companies. So now it was impossible for Facebook to tell the users that what that company is, because Facebook is something else and it became a brand. So people know Facebook for something else. And if we rename Instagram as a Facebook or WhatsApp as a Facebook or Geo as a Facebook, then it will not go with that. So they've chosen this name Meta. So Meta
okay.
is I mean, and that is at the top of the tree, and these all are the branches of Meta. So they changed the top holding company's name to Meta. Now, what they are going to do with Meta is, and because in the future, as Gaurav ji beautifully said, that artificial intelligence is the future, and we have also seen those sixth sense technologies are coming, and cloud computing and all those things are coming. So what Facebook is also trying to do is, like Prithvi ji has said, that gaming environment. We have seen those gaming environments. We have played those games in which we are playing from our side and we are throwing some balls and goes into the television. So they are trying to create that kind of environment with Facebook, in which our shadows will come and sit near our friends wherever he is sitting, and we can talk like we are talking in real. So they are trying to
Mm,
do this with artificial intelligence. But what I think is, ideology cannot change. I mean, ideology always ideology is with a human being now. Whoever is
right,
acquiring that company, if he is holding some kind of an ideology, so he will
right.
not change. Whatever technology he will use that technology for his point of view.
Yes,
So I don't
yes.
think that things
How
will
do we
change
beat him?
in a
How do we
way.
beat that guy in his own game? That is my question. How do we beat that
I
guy in
think
his own game? Yeah.
there are only two ways to beat them. Number one is
Mm,
local for vocal. If we can create our own thing, that is actually very difficult to spread it across the world. Number two
mm,
is market, because these big corporations and multinationals, they have only one fear, and that fear is losing the market. And
right.
India is the biggest market, as we all know, because China has censored all those things. And if all the people combinedly reported those things which they are doing with them, if they are, I mean, carving the voice of nationalist people, or they are showing these one-sided things to us, and they are actually censoring the other side. And if most of the people started reporting it, or started a campaign in which they say that we will leave all of your platforms if you do that, then they have to, I think, follow our rules, because market
Right.
is the
They have
only
to,
rule in this capitalism.
right. They have to mend their ways. Vineet,
Yeah.
besides taking, you may add anything to what Shubham said. You may take another question. I thought that Mark Zuckerberg's very long, meandering Facebook post, I almost did not understand what he was trying to get at. And a lot of people laughed at it. It's, after all, a very ambitious project. What do you think
Yes.
would be the time of rollout? Because this is just a concept that he has placed before us. And will Facebook be able to, bring to reality the dream that it has shown us?
Um, Regarding this, I would point to a very short history about this metaverse. So the term metaverse, actually, it is very befitting. I have thought about it for a long. Like, how did he come to this? I already played some games in which I use some there's one game called VR Chat in which I use this. I use augmented reality and virtual reality things. So I'm already aware about it. Now, this metaverse term is been taken from Neil Stephenson's 1992 novel, in which actually I think maybe he derived it from somewhere like that. So people would interact with their avatars. But very important thing I would like to point out here is in Facebook metaverse, you would be able to choose your own avatar. You can chase your
Right.
body form, a lot of things. You can become a cat or dog, anything you want. And I in a lot of things I think he has been inspired by how Snapchat rolled out its avatar form. Like you could roll out your avatar looking slightly different or totally different from you actually are. So he was basically exploring all this, and he took all these things. He took a great note of this, and there is one very important problem that he addressed through metaverse. There is a big problem that advertisers face nowadays. How to advertise their product in the modern world where people have the tendency to just go on to skipping the ads, and never interacting with it. So this was a big challenge that he had, and because advertisers are pushing him to find new ways. So I think he came up with this idea. Now, in the uh, current scenario, all the games which I know of and which are using this, they are trying to find these ways to advertise their products. Like, okay, if I am playing a VR chat, if I there is an advertisement for Adidas, so they will push it just like the actual store. So I think it's a very innovative idea, and he will definitely benefit from it. This is going to be a big thing for Facebook actually, and because it has the power to advertise, people can be anonymous. I don't think he would be very cautious to ban people in the beginning. This is
Okay.
something I would like to point out. And how to take advantage of metaverse, form groups in the VR world also. Like if we have to push somebody, I won't take the name of that particular group of people from the Middle East. So if we have to harass someone or we have to take on him, so we form groups and we try to push him off. If we are playing a game in which we have some weapons and all, if we are on the top of the fort, we would just push him away, or we will just report him for doing something that he's not uh, actually doing. Like we would put him
Okay.
in a grenade area, and we would say that he has actually pushed into us into that. Blame it on him. Like
Yeah.
forming small groups of people is important. And then you can, if you want some people to face some repercussions for whatever reasons, then just report them. Like if five people or six people report somebody that somebody has done something, actually these algorithms are very complex right now.
Right.
I
Right.
don't think anybody has this technology to identify harassment. It is extremely difficult. Maybe they will find some way to do it at a later stage, but right now they don't have any single way. Like all the games have I played, they don't have any miraculous way to point out how this harassment can be stopped. A lot of people
So
stop playing.
their so-called, their self-styled community standards will be difficult to implement when it
I
goes
think
all AI, right?
it will be
Right.
extremely difficult. I would ask all of the people to take advantage of it. You can choose your own avatar. You don't need to look like you are actually are. You can choose a different avatar every day. You can become an animal, just walk. It's meant for people to explore things. How Facebook, I think, is wanting to take advantage of it. It's trying to look at you. How would you behave like in an actual world if you walked among a group of people? So it will not be able to do this in a single day. It would take years to analyze this data. I would ask people to take advantage of it and form groups. It is very important. And do what you want. There is
Okay.
no
if
clear cut way.
if I may add something out here, you see, we
Yes.
are. I think we are getting a little confused between the social aspect and the technical aspect. The social aspect remains the same. An avatar, which is like our another avatar, is actually, it's drawn from that concept. It's like
Right.
a user ID. So I can change my look from a cat to a dog, but my avatar still remains Calcutta Cyclone. It's like my user ID. So like I can have a fake user ID. So there is no great secrecy in making me look like a cat or a dog. Okay, my
Right. Right.
IDs. If they want to, if they want to block Calcutta Cyclone, they'll block Calcutta Cyclone, which is my ID in Second Life. Okay, so it's like a
Right.
user ID. Now the whole
Right.
point is to understand metaverse. I think people should go back and look at the movie Matrix, okay, which is where this whole thing started. That is what we are trying to implement today. Within
Right. Right.
Matrix there is crime, there is
Hmm.
harassment, there is
Yes.
politics. All of that will continue here. Okay, so that will
Right. Right.
continue, except that instead of writing about you on Facebook, I mean, it is we put it out in a billboard. I can put up a billboard on the road
Right.
saying
Right.
Surajit is a criminal on the billboard.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay. In fact, I was coming to you with that question, which was slightly different, which is why, if I may take my conversation with Saurabh, for example, and where we compared the kind of responses that a photograph gets in comparison to a textual content. Now, let's say I want 500 likes to my post, not because I'm a narcissist, because I'm a political person and it makes sense that my message reaches far and wide. So, in this new environment, am I supposed to convey my message, in a manner like using an avatar or, more of podcasts, maybe more of short videos? What am I supposed to do, Pritishda? And then I'll go back to Saurabh and then Gaurav. Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, it will neither be videos nor be podcasts. For example,
Okay.
I have got a place called a small temple, as I call it a temple. Okay, there I will invite an important person to come and sing and dance, and then others will come in there. They will see, for example, a noted film star coming and dancing there, and
Okay.
because he is dancing, other avatars will hang around the place. They'll form a circle around him and watch him. And after he finishes dancing or talking, then I will say, look, now this is my pitch and this is this. So you have to think like differently. You have to organize things physically. So I have to get hold of a person. He'll come here. He will stand, wave his hands, talk, dance, crack jokes, whatever, and then he will assemble the people around him. And there'll be people, you can see there are 50 people standing around me right now. Now I'm going to talk that this is my philosophy, this is my GAN, this is my whatever, and I'm going to talk. It is not like showing a video or a podcast.
Okay.
It's physical. I stand up and talk.
All right, all right. Saurabh, let's consider a concept which is quite popular these days in the 2D environment, which is meme. When we do not like a point of view, we make fun of that person by caricaturing that person without even being a cartoonist. We just pick photos from different places, put a caption on that reads very funny. So let's say I want to make fun of people who rear their heads every time a Hindu festival arrives. Now they are saying don't burst firecrackers. A few months later they will ask us to play Waterless Holy. So now how do I make fun of my detractors in an AI environment?
See, I would personally feel, I mean, what will happen is like the creativity and the things like, the animation and I mean, the meme will continue still. I mean, I strongly feel the memes thing will still continue. and the people might they might come up with more creative ways. And as Prithvi has just said, because I mean, on his last question, that people will attract something by doing. Similarly, I was just, when he was talking, I mean, I was just imagining that going forward, I mean, we should not be surprised if all the political rallies starts happening at Meta, where they're
Right,
like
right, right.
thousands of crowds are standing out there and cheering it up, and then there's like a couple politicians who are coming on the stage, and then they're talking, and then and there you can see actually that okay, there are like 50,000 people are standing nearby, and we all can see through virtual reality. So stuff like that, I mean, as he was just saying, and I was imagining all those things.
In fact, the only VIP in our country who stands out in trying whatever is available right now in form of tech is, I think, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Not no, not any chief minister of any state. I haven't seen giving virtual presentation, so to speak, in a amid a foreign crowd. So he has tried that, and maybe that is going to be the kind of campaigning of the future also, as you've rightly pointed out. After all, who goes to the local municipal corporation, seek their permission for using a particular ground? Then there is the hassle of getting crowds of 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs people at one place, like let's say Gandhi Maidan of Patna. There's a huge ground to fill, or Brigade Parade ground of Kolkata. So, Shubham, uh, why hasn't it started already? Gaurav Tripathi, you may take the same question after him. Yeah. Why
And
hasn't it started
after that,
already?
I would like to put in an answer to this also, because I've done this. Okay, look, I'll come back. Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, Shubham.
Yeah. I think it has already started. Modi ji has done one rally. I've seen, I've read about it, that he has represented his holographic image over there.
Yes,
That
yes.
holograph has actually given the speech, and people think that it was Modi ji in real. So it has already started. Whatever technology is there, they have already started using it, and I think it is the future. In the future, people will also become that much intelligent that they will not come for rallies of political parties. And I don't think that people have that much time that they have right now or before, that they will come for rallies and sit for hours and wait for the politicians. So they will also prefer that these kind of things, that they are sitting in the home and they are getting those that feel. So people will also, I mean, I think in the future, in the meta environment, people can also send their holograms to these places, that they are also
Avatars.
present there. Yeah, avatars
Yes.
to the, that they are there, they are present there. And the counting is also easy for that, how many people were there, and they can communicate, and these kind of things will actually happen. And whatever you have asked, I mean, you just asked one question to Saurabh ji, that how this AI will work in this, if you make some cartoon or something like that. So I think these
Hmm.
cartoons in the future will speak. I think these cartoons will
Right.
speak, and these cartoons can jump in the post. I mean, they, some cartoon will jump and say something and then go back. So these kind of things we will see in the future, that more interactive things will actually happen. So
Right.
this is, I think,
Gaurav, I'll come to you, Prithisda. Gaurav, my question is, in an environment of primitive technology, let's say Doordarshan television channel, when we just had that and nothing else, let's talk about the ancient world, so to speak. So there was a provision on Doordarshan that every political party could book 30-minute slots during the election campaign, and then go blah 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 blah, we are doing this, the current government is not doing this, etc., etc., therefore bring us to power. Now, even as every political party exploited that available opportunity, everybody bought 30-minute slots there, but they were not satisfied that it is working. They would give a presentation and yet they would hit the ground, because there is another problem. Despite all the advancement of technology, it depends not only with the technology, on what technology you have, but what technology the recipient of your service has. So which means if I want to be present amid 1,000 people, those 1,000 people should have the technology to be able to see me in that form, isn't it so?
No, definitely.
Yes, Gaurav. Yeah,
The
yeah.
access itself will continue to remain a big issue, and given uh, the way that this is going to be consumed, right, that requires altogether a different level in terms of the devices and connectivity and everything. So definitely, and then if you look at on ground, it's a generational shift, and it's always like now there are two kinds of people. Like it's really there's one set of people who really believe that everything should be online. Yeah, we should not travel at all. The second second kind of people, second set of people who are now like, no, now the pandemic is not so severe. We should start meeting. The work doesn't happen that way. We need to come in. So we already see that divide, right? It will always be there. There were always people who said, but that nothing happens on mobile phone. You have to go and speak to people. You have to be there. So things keep evolving. It's always a generational. The next generation which will come, and the generation after that, there will be a generation. There will definitely a generation will emerge which will say, why do I have to go there? I'm attending it. I'm there. Yes, I'm there. For them, being there, the telepresence itself will be reality. They will not really think about that I have to physically move. That is a generational thing. There will be a generation which will emerge, but till then it will slowly inch towards that. As always, how things happen, like slowly, then all of a sudden.
Right, right. Pritisda, you were saying you have some experience of dealing with this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, because in 2006, when we first created the Second Life metaverse, the bandwidth requirements were quite high. And at that point in time, bandwidth was very expensive. So it was very difficult to enter and play around. Okay. So, that was a huge challenge. And you needed fast, computers with good graphics cards. So nowadays that is very much possible. So now what Zuckerberg is saying, that the kind of 3D thing will require VR devices. That is why he has, I think, Oculus company he has purchased.
Right, right.
Now, if that price of that Oculus device, and it's currently about 35, 40,000 rupees, or if not more, I don't know, maybe perhaps more. If that comes down to say 5,000 rupees, okay, then only you will find me attending, a political event within that. Otherwise, if that
Right.
device is costing me a lakh of rupees, and the bandwidth requirements are so high that even my 2 mbps 3 mbps line is not good enough, tab nahi chalega. The technology is very nice, but we can't use it. And we have really faced this problem with Second Life metaverse in the year 2006-7 when we were working with it, and that's how it kind of fizzled out. Nowadays, of course, bandwidth has improved, but requirements have gone up even more, because if you're doing a
Yes,
full if
yes,
you're doing a full 3D VR, the requirements will be
yes.
like 30 Mbps lines.
Right,
Now that
right.
is the challenge to me.
So we are talking about a comparison between, let's say, when a computer needed quite a few buildings just to store the hard drive, and that would contain at the most one page of what you write on a piece of paper. It was so difficult, and when it had just started, which is to say that by the time Zuckerberg or any of his competitors arrives at that kind of communication age, where both the content provider and the content receiver are equally technologically equipped. How much time do you think? 20 years, 30 years in the future?
I think it will be sooner. Uh, I
Sooner?
can, yeah, I think it will be sooner. If you want to see how advertising works in this regard, I think people should, yeah, everybody should take a look at the game called Minecraft.
Hmm.
Minecraft is a very this game. You usually in the beginning it had very low requirements. As we moved on, it started advertising, it started promoting things, this and that, and even started pushing agendas. Like in the US presidential election, people were supporting Biden and Trump right on there on the Minecraft servers. So there was like Biden server or like a Trump server. These things kind of things happen. So if you want to take a look at how these things happen, I think the history of Minecraft would be helpful, and I think he is definitely going to bring the prices of those devices down, because Oculus is really putting its resources into this for quite some time. And they what they had was a serious lack of manpower. They have already said this a few times. Like there was a conference in which a feminist had asked the CEO of Oculus, why are you not recruiting more women? You can see that on YouTube. And he said that we don't have enough people, we have hard time recruiting people, you can just push us to recruit more women like that. So that was a very good response he gave, and now
Okay,
he
so
has.
what may I have a very real life situation? Let's taking a recent example that we talk about. Let's say the Prime Minister of India in 2040 wants to address a crowd at Jhumri Talaiya, and you're saying that not only the Prime Minister of that time, but also the crowd at Jhumri Talaiya will have that technology to receive that kind of service, Vineet?
They can be crowd funded or in some other ways, but there will be some solution to that. If a person cannot present on like if it does not have a AR set or VR set, then we can also program our devices to move in that. Like we necessarily do not need to have an AR device. Like in some games that I play, I do not even use a AR headset. I absolutely do not use it in my home. I can only use a AR headset when I'm playing in a studio. I don't have a AR headset at my home. I just use my headphones, and then I move my background like if I'm playing a third person game character. It's exactly similar to that. That's what I'm telling.
Okay, okay. Gaurav, I have a different question uh, about business rivalry. We have spoken about political rivalries. Uh, if you go through some interviews of Jack Dorsey of Twitter, you would find he does not quite like Mark Zuckerberg, and he actually hates Facebook. And I think there is reciprocity in this feeling. Mark cannot stand Jack Dorsey either, although they share a kind of ideological affinity. Now, my point is, in terms of business, once you have announced a product or your visualization of a product, but you are actually not ready with all the hardware required, isn't there a chance that a more enterprising businessman will beat you in the game and come up with a product even before you do?
No, not
Gaurav.
really. Not really.
Yeah.
Because see, what matters in this is it's always there are two elements to it. You know how see it's like one is called always the so when Steve Jobs was alive, there used to be a term called the reality distortion field.
Hmm.
So, and that has been, of course, picked up by a lot of people in Silicon Valley. Right? And if we see uh, Mark Zuckerberg today, at a level, at a level, really, if you just look at it from today's perspective, Meta is a smoke screen. Okay, it is really a smoke screen at the right time because of everything that is going around. And if you go back in time, there was a time when Google was at the center of all of this, and that is when they did Alphabet. Yeah.
Yep.
This is, I see, this is simply Facebook's Alphabet moment wherein they have realized, yes, we have grown, and they have really grown massively. And they already see that, yes, it's going to need a lot more different companies that there are. And that is where they need that kind of a structure. So this is Alphabet moment. Second, in the technology world, or world in general, if we see, everything actually moves by sentiment, right? And in that, if we look at, so when Elon Musk announced about the electric vehicle, and he didn't really say electric vehicle. He's been very consistent in saying we have to get to Mars. Correct. He never said that these are the steps. And he's like, yeah, we have to get to Mars. Now everything that I do from here on is a tiny step towards that. We have to get to Mars.
Right. Right.
And that is what now Mark Zuckerberg is also saying, that someday we are going to be in the metaverse.
Okay.
When that day comes, how that happens, it is immaterial. You have shifted the goalpost, because the question has been from investors, especially investors. The question has been, and in fact from the employees as well, the team. How do you motivate investors, employees? Because it's like, okay, now what with Facebook? We have, we're already the world's largest player in this, right? What next? And that is where you have to shift the goalpost. You really have to show a vision that, okay, this is next. Now, whether people will be able to beat, I don't see. It's really what comes back to, it's like the vision. If you are able to give a compelling vision,
I'll give you an example. I'll draw an analogy with something seen in the business of the tech world. Let's say there was a time in India when Philips dominated the electronic sector. And we did not have Sony back then. We did not have Samsung, etc., etc. So then, sometime I think about nearly 15 years ago, when our TVs used to look like boxes, Philips came up with an 8 lakh rupees TV television set, which looked flat. And the first advertisement was that two guys were carrying that huge TV, but it was flat. It was huge, quite bulky, not such thin screens like today. But then Philips could not capitalize on that innovation. When Sony arrived in the market, it beat Philips hands down. And in different technologies, we have seen that Sony is a much better marketer than Philips. And even in the field of mobile smartphones, Nokia is nowhere seen now, because Vineet was talking about gaming, and it used technology, I think was called Symbian. Nokia used a Symbian technology, and somebody advised it that you should move to Microsoft. Later on, it turned out that it was actually an act of sabotage. They wanted to kill that company, and they succeeded, actually. So I'll bring in Prithishda, because he is also a management and business guru. How do you see the competition playing out? Prithishda.
Competition, see, everybody is trying to grab market share and eyeballs, okay, to do something new and different. How do you do anything new? I mean, if I make another, social media, for example, we have got this coup thing going. Now, for coup to succeed, it is not sufficient different from Twitter. So why would anybody move from coup to Twitter? I mean, from Twitter to coup. Okay.
Yes.
There's no reason. So there has to be something different and new. So that has to be shown. And of course, the marketing is certainly very important, because Xerox has this strange capability of coming out with the best products and not being able to market it, right from desktop, everything they messed up. So marketing is going to be very important. How to get mind share, and for example, we have to do interesting things within. For example, the shopping experience. Amazon is the biggest shopping point right now. Okay, maybe Flipkart, whatever. Amazon. Now, why would anybody move from Amazon to, say, Flipkart? Now, I can make it move if I can create a metaverse 3D environment shopping mall where I can walk down the corridors, and then I can see on the left hand side is this, right hand side is this.
Right.
That will perhaps draw me, rather than making another Amazon clone and trying to sell on Flipkart. So that could be really a game changer.
Shubhamji, what you had said earlier, bringing that with what we are discussing now, don't you think that people like you, Saurabhji, Gauravji, etc., should receive tremendous government support to create something made in India, like Gauravji has done, like Sauravji has done, you are doing, and in fact, not just support us, entrepreneurs like you, innovators like you, but also provide an environment where more people like you can thrive. That is my question number one. And number two is, for entrepreneurs like you have to somewhere depend on, let's say, Google Play Store, let's say, or Apple's App Store. And if we think about the experience of Parley, the Republicans who were harassed on Twitter, they got fed up with that and they launched Parley. And very soon, both Google and Apple came down on them, saying that you have not, in your terms and conditions, provided anything to as a safeguard against the 6th January Capitol Hill riots, and therefore we are pulling you down. How do you number एक सरकारी समर्थन, number two, how to deal with these giants or demons like Google and Apple?
I think I would start with whatever Prithvi ji has said, that if we create something duplicate, I mean, I want to give this example to your question, that we have a Rajnikant and we have a duplicate of Rajnikant. So more people would prefer the original Rajnikant. They will not prefer the duplicate. They can laugh on him, but they cannot prefer him to meet him. So in the same way, if we created apps or websites which are similar to those websites which already exists in the market, so because of local for vocal or Swadeshi, Vichardhara and all, some Indians would adopt it, but the world will not adopt it. Why Coup is not popular and Twitter is popular? One more thing is that because the whole world is on the Twitter. I mean, most of the countries and their presidents and their film actors. But then, if we promote Coup to them, what is the appeal that they have towards the Coup? Indians can, of course, do that. Indian ministries have also moving towards Coup, but they will not. Similarly, if we talk about Flipkart and Snapdeal is already sold off, and then Flipkart is also, I think, most of the shares is taken by
Yeah,
Walmart.
with
Yeah.
Walmart,
So
yes. Yes.
if our Indian guys or Indian entrepreneurs come up with that idea, which was actually never came before, if we come with an innovative idea which can actually sell, we can sell this to the world, like Paytm. I think Paytm was an innovative idea, and Paytm
Yeah.
actually ruled the market, and it actually captures all those places. So if we come up with that good idea, then only we can spread that idea to whole world. And
Right.
yes, as you said, government should help us. So government is also, I think, trying to do that with Atal Innovative Centers, and they have increased the amount of PhD fellowship to in IITs and IIMs, and they are also coming up with incubation centers. But I think because of our education system, the mindset of youngsters is like that they want to do the job in top multinationals. They don't
Right.
want to create a multinational. Even right now, what I am seeing with my fellow Indians or my fellow students, whatever tendency I am seeing is they are creating good startups, but they are not creating it to sustain it. They are creating it to sell it after 5 years. So they are not, doing it like Steve Jobs created Apple, and he actually associated with it. Or Zuckerberg actually, for very few people knew that for 5 years, Zuckerberg didn't take even a single rupee for Facebook, and he didn't took any advertisement for that also, because he was closely associated with that idea, and he runs that idea, make it popularize, and now he is making money out of it. Similarly, Microsoft did whatever Bill Gates did with that. So we need
Yes.
those kind of people, and I think from childhood onwards, we need to build that startup mindset to our in our
Right.
students, so that when they became pass out from the college, till that time they can think about that idea and they can capitalize that idea, and then only government can help them. Otherwise, whatever
Right.
ideas are
Right.
coming in this in front of venture capitalists, they are just the copies of the ideas which are already done
Right.
by some big giants in the world, whether it is
Right.
Alibaba,
Right.
Flipkart, Snapdeal, or whatever. Yeah.
The other question I had,
I
which,
have a point on that.
huh?
If
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, Gaurav, go
whenever
ahead.
so
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I actually have to disagree with Shivam on a lot of points. You know, being in
Hmm.
the scene and being an entrepreneur for past 16 years, right? Series of startups. Two things. You know, so 2 points. One is I think we have got this notion of innovation completely wrong, and I can claim it because yes, I hold 12 patents in US and my team filed 120 patents in US and Europe. Right? Innovation is not new. Okay, innovation. Which country? If I ask you right now, which country is the most innovative country right now? Tell me.
Which one is,
Answer.
according to you? Hmm.
No, anybody, please feel free.
It's actually China, but it's in an indirect way of saying
Exactly. It is no, it is China. Number of patents they
Hmm.
have beaten the world by a huge margin. Now, how that happens is it's not, you know, we have to get rid of this notion in our mind that innovation is new. No, it is not. Innovation is, you know, just being able to solve a problem that you are facing in your own way. That's it. And you should be able to protect it. You know, the IP. We haven't got that idea of IP here. India
Right.
ranks 48 in terms of the IP, you know, the worldwide, right? So that
Intellectual
is one.
property. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
intellectual property, and that is
Hmm.
where we need to move, and we should get rid of this notion. You know, we should protect what we have, right? That
No, there
is
is
what
another
we.
thing that there is since we are running out of time, as you can see on the clock, just about 4 minutes are left. There was another thing I wanted to know from Shubham, Saurabh, and you, Gaurav, and even Vineet and Prithisda, which is that while innovating and coming up with new products, you need to come up not just with Me Too Facebook, Me Too Twitter, Me Too YouTube, etc. But there is some platform where you will have to launch these things, which is App Store and Play Store. Now, even if they are biased, some fine day your product will be pulled down. So we are going to have to look for substitutes for Google and Apple as well. Saurabh, Saurabh.
Yeah, in fact, there has to be some substitute. As I guess there's one of the product which is really popular and which is not there on Play Store or App Store, which is Dream 11. I am not very sure because I'm not very fond of it, but this is what I've been updated with. But at the same time, as Shubham just said, there's like a lot of problem. I mean, he was so right. I mean, because majority of the cases, what Ku has done is they have just copied Twitter, and that too they haven't copied it properly, I would say. And
Yeah.
again the bigger problem is uh, uh, why I doubt that coup will be successful is because they have got stamped as a right wing platform again. So people from the right wing side, they don't want to put banners in their own houses and their own wall, because I want to promote myself, because until unless if you promote it yourself in your own room, that doesn't make sense. So the audience is not there, so that doesn't make any sense for me to go out there and do some debate out there and stuff like that. At the same time, uh, the problem with the government help is again uh, giving you that stamp, I would say. So it's better to. I mean, that's personally my thought. It's better not to take any government help at this point of time. Look out for VCs. Look out for good Indian VCs out there. And if you really have some good idea, I mean, I know Gaurav has done a lot of innovative products out there in the market, and I mean, which are doing really good. In fact.
Surajit,
We
if I
need
may
any
add
final. Yes, yes,
about your
please.
Apple and
Hmm.
Android stores,
Hmm.
there do exist quite a few third-party app stores.
Right,
However,
right.
Android and Apple, they so strongly threaten you that if you go there, you'll get virus, this, that, but they can't stop you. So if you
Hmm.
can download an APK file, so what we need to do is we should create our own India store And we should set up an ecosystem which will give people the confidence that if I download an app from the India store, that will, if I have a problem, somebody will help me fix it. So if that happens, then I can set up an app store myself. You just need to give the APK files. You do not need to go through the official app stores, and then they can't pull you down. I think this
Right.
third-party app stores has to be promoted strongly.
Completely,
Right,
completely
right.
agree. I completely agree, and I have a hunch. I think I can say it here. I'm
Sure.
very sure in next 12 to 18 months we are going to see an option in India for an Indian app store. Who does it? We know there are few players which are working in that direction, but I'm 100% sure, and that is where the government also wants it. That yes, if there is an option, yeah, then government can use that as a leverage, to push the others to comply.
I think that's a very
Right.
wonderful, positive, and optimistic note to end the program with. It was so enriching and enlightening to have all you learned and experienced people, have you on the panel. Thanks a lot. I hope we have been able to answer a lot of queries in the minds of the viewers. Please uh, subscribe to Sirf News YouTube channel. And if you wish to support this Pro India initiative, media initiative, uh, my phone number has been rolling down the screen throughout the program. You may also watch it once the live session is over. You may use any e-pay method to donate for Pro India journalism. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Jai Hind.
And so, thank you.
Done. अच्छा प्रीतिश दा खूब भालो लागलो गौरव जी बहुत
Thank you.
अच्छा लगा
No, thank you.
no
Thank you, Sujit ji, for inviting.